Addy soldiers. Good morning, everybody. I don't know why I said that. It's truly 5:30 p.m. Hello to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I hope you are having a wonderful Sapphic September so far. Half the reason behind today's video is that I did one of these, I think, last year or 2 years ago, and I just wanted to do a little, update of my new top 2 favorite Sapphic books. And the other half is, not gonna lie, because I'm just feeling real sappy lately. I haven't seen my girlfriend in 3 weeks because we're long distance, and to make myself feel better, I thought I'd do something that I'm good at, which is talking about hot ladies. I personally am a Sapphic. I am part of the bisexual variety. If you've been following me on BookTube or on Book Talk, you'll notice that I read a whole lot of Sapphic books, and in the last couple of years, my tastes have changed a little bit. A couple of faves have been usurped. So like a snapshot in time, here are my current top 10 favorite Sapphic books, and if yours are different, I don't know, do you want to go sword fight about it? Not that way. Get your head out of the gutter. However, all the books I'm talking about today are going to have 2 women or a woman and non-binary person as the main couple. We won't be talking about books where the main character is Sapphic but ends up in a heterosexual facing relationship, because some of you get weird about that, and that's a conversation for another time. Most of the books I'm mentioning have a romance plot, and just quick disclaimer, that's because I personally like reading books with a romance plot. Queer books do not owe you romance or sex or having characters needing to prove their queerness. If a main character states that they are queer, it is a queer book. Got it? Got it. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and buckle in. Let's talk about my current 10 top rating favorite Sapphic books of all genres. And yes, I understand that this cup does not match the rest of the vibe, okay, but my black tumbler is dirty. These are in no particular order. I'm not ranking them against each other or anything. But that being said, do I play favorites? Yes, and that's why I would make a bad parent. So up first is probably, possibly, and quite likely to be my favorite Sapphic book, confirmed. You heard it here, folks. Model Who's Read. She's here, she's queer, she's large and in charge, and she's the only book on this list that I can say I have a tattoo from, and that is A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. Hey, what can I say? I love a thick queen. This is a feminist dragon-filled fantasy that is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. There she is. But it can also be read as a standalone, and on the DL, don't tell Priory, but I think I might like Fallen Night better. Like I said, playing favorites. This takes place 500 years before the events of Priory and follows some of the ancestors of those beloved characters, when dark magic first rises to obliterate the realm and the lives of 3 women that intervene. Tuva is a priestess at the Priory at a time where many of the new members are losing their faith. Dumai is a Sekinese monk whose mother's past catches up with her and forces her into a role of leadership. And lastly, Princess Glorian, one of the most famous queens of the Berethnet bloodline, at a time where she's only 15 and her parents have recently died and she has to take over queendom by herself. I'm a fan of Samantha Shannon, as you can see, and this, without a doubt, is the best writing that she's ever done. I love that we get so many women of different ages and experiences and backgrounds that all are strong in their own ways. Motherhood is a big theme in this. Women who are mothers or were mothers or are expected to become mothers or who are forced to become mothers due to the responsibilities and expectations of their communities and what that does to somebody. And though we have a variety of relationships, all 3 main women that we follow in here are Sapphic, and I do love seeing how Sapphics have different types of relationships. There's love stories and dragon battles and court politics and women with swords. Truly something for everybody. Now, she's a big girl, and I know women are intimidating, okay? I totally get it, but it is 100% worth it to start this. Now, on this channel, we don't only support women's rights, but also women's wrongs, and the next book I want to talk about is just so full of wrongness in the best way possible. I read this a couple of months ago, and it has wormed its way into my deep, dark, black soul. It's a book that's touted as an escape room fantasy that is full of seduction, sadism, and straight-up murder. If you, like me, love a girl with a little darkness in her heart, you're absolutely gonna want to pick up The Hunter's Gambit by C.L. Perlow. I think this is the first of 2, maybe 3 Sapphic vampire books on this list, which I think says a lot about me. Our main character, Kazan, is a blacksmith who specializes in silver weaponry to help fight vampires, and on what I can only describe as a road trip gone awry, her cohort is attacked by vampires and she is taken to this isolated castle in the mountains where the vampires tell her that for 3 days she will be treated like a queen, and after those 3 days a magical ritual will happen and they will eat her. With the vampire ritual already begun and 3 days to find a way out, Kazan allies herself with 2 alluring vampires who have their own plans to usurp their king. It's brutal, it's bloody, everyone's constantly backstabbing one another, literally. Kazan herself is amazing because she's not a good person. From the very beginning, we see that she is scheming, she is conniving. She's like, Why would I let morals and ethics stand in the way between me and what I want? That's stupid. The fact this entire book takes place over 3 days means that you are on the edge of your seat at all times. This is the most fun I've ever had being stressed out about something. Kazan is brazenly bisexual, as are Rhea and Adrius of the couple we get involved with, and it leads to some interesting scenes. A new bloody, gory favorite of mine where women get revenge and also, like, get to kiss hot girls and guys. And also, maybe we should give more women swords. That's what I'm taking away from this. On the absolutely complete other side of the spectrum, I want to talk about an adorable contemporary romance with nary a vampire in sight, unfortunately. An absolute classic. Nay, a pillar in Sapphic book canon is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. Look, the entire Brightfall series, we're gonna count this as one, singular. Because, like, I can do whatever I want. It's my video, and I very highly doubt you're my real dad. I love my dad, but I don't think he watches me on YouTube. He recently found the roast yourself challenges, so that's indicative of where he is on the internet right now. And if you're for some reason here, hi dad, love you. Thanks for that crow skull that you gave me the other day. Do I even really need to talk about the Brightfall series? Like, Delilah Green Doesn't Care is such a staple for everybody starting off Sapphic romances. In case you don't know and aren't tired of me talking about it, Delilah Green Doesn't Care stars Delilah, who's a New York City photographer who comes back to her small town for her stepsister's wedding. But then once she's there, it turns out that there's some drama between the bride and the groom, and she's reconnecting with Claire, who was a friend of her sister Astrid's once upon a time, and now, oh hey, maybe you're like kind of sexy. It's a lovely book about forgiveness and reconnecting with family and starting new loves. I guess I'm kind of like the adult love child of Delilah and Claire. Like, if you put them together, you'd get me. But it's also hella spicy, and I think the spice gets better in each sequential book. Now, you can read these as companion novels, you don't have to read all of them, but it is kind of cute to see characters from other books show up. Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail follows Astrid, who is Delilah's stepsister who maybe had something happen with her wedding, who's an interior designer recently contracted to help remake this old inn in town, but then runs into Jordan, who's the granddaughter of the hotel owner, and the two of them butt heads as they both try to remake this house. And then Iris Kelly Doesn't Date follows theater gays Astrid and Stevie as the two of them enter into a fake dating relationship while also playing the leads in a queer retelling of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, which is also my favorite Shakespeare play. We'll also say steam levels are probably the highest in this book, and like, God bless, but like, God, theater kids are so horny. I can say that because I'm an ex-theater kid, and like, I have some stories that are never making it to the internet. Now, some people have criticized this series because all of our couples have one lesbian and one bisexual woman, and so I've seen some lesbians in the community say that's really annoying and that's not really fair because a lot of lesbians only date other lesbians, and like, that could, again, is a good conversation for another day. But personally, as a bi woman, I really like reading these things, and I really like all three of the depictions of the ways that people get into those relationships and the preconceptions that you might have, especially if you have not been able to explore that part of yourself before. Please don't be biphobic. They're classic for a reason. The Brightfall series is just a straight up good time. Or like, not, you know, straight. Now, if we're gonna talk about a book on this list that gives A Day of Fallen Night a run for its money when it comes to favorite Sapphic book, I have to award that title to The Final Strife by Sarah Al-Arifi. This is one of the best, I'd say top 5 fantasy novels that I have ever read, no cap, full stop. Did I use no cap correctly? I sure hope so. Book 1 of the Ending Fire trilogy, which is a fantasy series based on African and Arabian mythology that centers 3 women who are all trying to take down an empire that separates its people based on the color of their blood. Every 10 years, the city holds the Aktabar, which are a series of trials that determine the next set of rulers. Silo was a red blood baby stolen by the blue-blooded rebels in hopes of raising her to end this war, and Anor is the baby that they swapped her out with, who is now under the thumb of her mother, who I believe is the Warden of Strength, in a series of events where there was supposed to be an assassination, but then they accidentally became reluctant allies. Anor and Sila are working together as this new series of trials begins, playing to their strengths and maybe taking down the empire from the inside out. There's also bigger stirrings of a rebellion as some of Sila's childhood friends are coming back to the city for the first time, and a clear-blooded servant named Hassa has her whole own agenda with some of the other clear-bloods, and oh boy, I want to know what happens. The 3rd one just dropped. The cover looks like this. Oh my god, I can't wait to finish the series. All of our characters are POC. There's a ton of physical disability rep. Oh, and also magical sand hurricanes. I can't believe I forgot that. It's bloody, it's intense, everyone's out here making bad decisions. There's big discussions on war and privilege and class. Also has one of my favorite romance structures, which is enemies to reluctant allies to begrudgingly respected friends to lovers. Exhibit A of why women should be in charge of politics, because when things are getting done. Now I understand the Final Strife can be a bit intense, and maybe you don't want something that's so bombastic. Maybe you want something that's a little bit more chill. Okay, you want some cottagecore lesbians, you want your plant gays, you want your bisexual bookworms sitting weird on nice velvet chairs. You want less chaos, but more coffee. Well, friend, that makes it sound like you need a sapphic cozy fantasy recommendation, and wouldn't you know it, I happen to have one for you. Oh my god, that's so weird and crazy. Another one of my new favorite books that I read this year is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. Truly the queer dream, abandoning your day job to run away and start a coffee shop with your lesbian lover. This is gonna be me and my girlfriend in like 30 years, though maybe with less swords and dragons, but maybe not. Rhea is one of the Queen's guards who's absolutely had it at her job and wants to run away with her girlfriend, Kianth. But Kianth is like the top magic supreme being of the mage collective, but Ki also feels trapped within her responsibilities, and so the two of them decide to flee to a backwater town where they renovate an old barn into a bookshop and tea store. But of course, both magic and their pasts catches up with them, and suddenly they find themselves embroiled in not only keeping the town's secrets, but also trying to help with this dragon problem that they keep having. Just this adorable little domestic adventure of learning how to bake and opening up a bookshop and playing around with your pet griffin and making family connections with the healer in town, and also evading the Queen's murderous royal guard. And while this is cute and cozy and has aspects of adventure, especially near the end with all the dragon lore, which is very fun and cool, I love the way that they talk about relationships in this book, because all their conversations are around how they can best support the other and how they can make them feel loved and appreciated. And like, oh my god, communication, we love to see it. They know that a grand gesture of saving the realm from dragon magic is not what's gonna make that person love them. It's bringing them a cup of tea by the fire. The author herself says that this is inspired by Legends and Lattes, and this is incredibly Travis Baldry coded. So if you love those books, you're gonna love this one too. So cute! I have to stop talking about this because my heart's about to explode. Next up, I have two historical romances that are kind of two of a pair because one of them is an old favorite and one of them is a new favorite. Let's start off with an old favorite. If you've been on my channel for a little while, you probably will have seen me recommend this book to death, and this video is no exception because An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera is just... she's perfect. I love her. It's 1889 Paris, and Manuela has been given one last summer to be wild and free before her arranged marriage in the fall, but a scandalous encounter with Duchess Cora puts them in a reluctant agreement where Cora will show Manuela the sights and sounds of Sapphic Paris, and Manuela will debate helping out Cora with her business endeavor, which involved Manuela selling her some of her property back in Argentina. That didn't sound right. Let me fact check something. Oh no, Venezuela, sorry. This book said Brat Summer before Brat Summer existed. This book is hot. Is anyone else doing that? Anytime I see neon green, I'm like, ah, Brat Summer. And my friends and family are getting tired of me. Oh, hi, it's editing Rachel. My camera crapped out. Girls and gays, you know I love you, but after the week I've had, I literally cannot be bothered to set up my tripod right now. Major points for accurate historical dress. Oh my god, girl, you're telling me that she has split drawers? Holy mama. I know some people are a little put off by Manuela's character at the very beginning because she comes across as kind of flighty and naive, but that is absolutely not the case. She's smart and she's stubborn and she's extroverted, and her artist's eye catches everything from the small details of what it's like being in a new city to those subtle bonds between people and the tensions that fill her lover. And Cora is a surprisingly empathetic character even to modern day standards, just existing as a woman in the world. She's strong and stiff and unyielding because she's always had to be. She has to act like that in order to get ahead as a woman in the world of business. Kind of seeing her melt a little bit with Manuela and realize that she can ask for help and that she can yield is a really wonderful character transformation. And while we follow these ladies on their daytime artsy escapades and their dark and delicious nighttime escapades, if you know what I'm saying, there's also a ton of real history and experiences from not only the queer women's art movement in Paris at the time, but also the experiences of the exiles and immigrants from South America that were making Paris home. Adriana Herrera has an afterword with all of her sources and further readings you can do, and I'd highly recommend checking it out. We get sapphic sexy times and queer women's art movements and European history all in one convenient package. The new spicy sapphic historical romance on this list is The Bluestockings Guide to Decadence by Jess Everly. It's London 1885, and Jo Smith is a lesbian in a lavender marriage whose stability is upended when her husband's mistress gets pregnant. But since Vanessa is an actress and of poor social standing, no doctor will see her, but Jo manages to capture the heart and eye of Dr. Lady Emily Clark. The two of them butt heads as their worlds collide, but both of them are challenging something in the other, and maybe there might be some desire filling up that gap. It's sweet, it's spicy, it's funny as hell. I absolutely adore Jo. She is positively shameless. And even though sometimes you just want to shake Emily, her dealing with her father's legacy and fighting against the system to become a doctor and dealing with the grief of the death of a parent that happens before the book starts. The romance in this book is all about perception and how far are you willing to go to do things that you believe in. Because something that Jess Everly does really well in this Lucky Lovers of London series is that she puts these fun little gay romances in a historical context, but she also incorporates the real struggles of the queer community and of women at that time and the restrictions that they were under. And while I love a fluffy little escapist moment, the fact that we're going into the legal and societal consequences of what it was like to be queer and showing how loving Emily's family is and how lucky Jo is to be in her lavender marriage, how they are struggling to maintain that love. And that is what the queer community has been for so long. So that bit of realism of being like, no, I'm standing up for what I believe in and who I love, it's really, really beautiful. It just makes your heart hurt all that much more. And now, I do believe it is time for more sapphic vampires. Not that there's ever not a time for more sapphic vampires, I would think. A new to me, sexy, scary vampire historical novel that focuses on love, lust, and unlife is the absolutely beautifully written A Long Time Dead by Samara Breger. Twinsies. Poppy is a London sex worker who one night wakes up newly turned into a vampire with no memory of what happened. And helping her transition into her creature of the night status is Roisin, who's an older vampire who saw Poppy get attacked and feels an odd kind of responsibility for her. As Poppy acclimatizes and the two of them get to know more about each other, or maybe falling in love a little bit, but Roisin's past comes back to haunt her in the form of her vampiress sire, who Roisin has had a very tumultuous relationship with and who wants Poppy dead. A love story that spans nearly a century. We get vampire found family and vampire long-distance girlfriends, the consequences of immortality and what it really means to live a second life. Before I praise Poppy and Roisin to high hell, I must first praise Samara Breger for her incredible writing. She balances the humor and the historical accuracy so well, because Poppy is more of a silly, goofy kind of bubbly girl, whereas Roisin is more reserved and a little bit more romantic, and this book is really fucking funny, but none of their slang ever felt out of place. Their language, their cadence, their voice always sounded like it fit the time period. Poppy is one of the best characters that I've read in a long time because she's a sex worker who loves her job, she's plus size, she's dyslexic, and she doesn't really give a fuck what other people think about her, and she's so funny. From the beginning, she knows that she doesn't fit into this kind of highfalutin vampire society, so she's just kind of there like, what up? I know I am not good at being a vampire, and that's okay. I can fuck like a dream and make sure to keep up morale. And Roisin's journey is so beautiful because it's all about self-worth and honestly moving on from domestic violence and getting revenge on the person that has wronged her. And so watching her open up to Poppy and fall in love, it's so beautiful. But I warn you, this book is gonna lure you in being like, haha, body peasant jokes and ooh, sexy vampire orgies. And then you're gonna turn a page and get absolutely sucker punched right in the neck by a quote that's talking about like the eternal suffering and unknowing loneliness of being immoral, and you're like, oh my god, what just happened? This book destroyed me, and I would absolutely let her do it again. And lastly, we're going where no gay on this list has gone before, and that is outer space. And possibly the future. We all have a crystal gay, or a meditation gay, or a tarot reading gay in our lives, but up until this point, I don't know anybody who knows a gender non-conforming, time-traveling robo-gay. But, I mean, remains to be seen. If sapphic post-apocalyptic time war space travel is your game, then This Is How You Lose a Time War is the name. Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone have created an interdimensional love story between two sapphic warriors of opposite empires that are creating war through space-time. Though red and blue start on opposite sides, they slowly begin to fall in love with one another and are leaving each other love notes and messages throughout time and space in a variety of different ways, including inside of acorns of trees that will grow so that eventually one of them will find it, or at one point they write a love note into the genetic makeup of a bee that stings the other one of them. It's weird and trippy, but at the same time, like, no one's ever done that for me. Red belongs to a technotopia, so she's more robot, but then blue belongs to the garden, which is a vast consciousness embedded in all organic matter, really taking plant gay to a whole new level. And I'm not usually a fan of time travel or interdimensional plot lines, and yet somehow they have both woven this story that is so beautiful and about longing and wanting to belong somewhere, finally finding and fighting for your equal. The story is told through these love letters, and the writing is so poetic and beautiful. I want flowers from Cephalus and diamonds from Neptune, and I want to scorch the 1,000 earths between us to see what blooms from the ash, so we can discover it hand in hand, content in context, and intelligible only to each other. I want to meet you in every place I have ever loved. She is the cool, quirky girl that you want to sit next to at the lunch table, and if you want your world, nay, your universe rocked, you have to check out this book. So there you have it. Here are my top 10 Sapphic books. I'm actually very impressed that I'm holding it. Like, is that only 9? This whole video has been false advertising. Okay, what? I guess I gotta pick another one. Oh my god, the pressure is on. Okay, let's go, lesbians, let's go. See, I would say Seven Devils by L.R. Lamb and Elizabeth May, but I haven't reread this in a really long time, and so I feel like my judgment is clouded on that end. And I would say This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher, which I just finished, and I loved. However, there's multiple characters, and so she's like 2 of 4 characters. I don't know if that counts. I'm also trying to not do YA on this list this time, so Last Night at the Telegraph Club and Cool for the Summer and Imogen obviously are not allowed into this event. It's a 19+ event today. Oh my god. Oh my god, how did I not put this up here? Oh no. Gideon was here all along! I can't believe I almost forgot you, baby! I'm so sorry! Okay, you know what? This is all making sense to me now. I didn't write Gideon down on my list because I just kind of assumed that, like, she was gonna be one of the top ones, so... Oh my god, I like, gave myself a panic attack. And if you're out here like, Rachel, everyone knows about Gideon the Ninth. Why are you talking about it? Well, this is my video on my channel. I'm talking about my favorite top 10 Sapphic books. Now, if you couldn't tell by the copious amounts of skulls around and on my person, I absolutely love bone magic, death magic, playing favorites, lesbian necromancers, in space, fighting bone constructs, telling dirty jokes, and all around making bad decisions. Harrow Harkness, Reverend Daughter of the Ninth House, and her right-hand man Gideon are brought to a backwater planet when the Emperor asks that all heirs of 9 necromantic families from across the galaxy are to show up to this weird gothic mansion, and then they're drawn into magic, murder, mystery, and mayhem as they're trying to solve a mystery, but also stuff about, like, the galaxies and danger, and also, like, death magic is a whole weird thing. You know what? This might actually be a good book to end on, because when we're talking about queer books and how, you know, a lot of them have romance, and I personally love a romance in a queer book, this book doesn't really have that, and I think a lot of people were upset because they were trying to force a relationship in their own minds of Harrow and Gideon, because Harrow and Gideon are very intimate. They're drawn together in a very specific way. They begrudgingly tolerate one another and then have to work together, combine their powers, and able to solve this weird murder mystery that also has to do with, like, this bone monster and maybe, like, the resurrection of a long dead saint. It's complicated. Gideon is an S-tier badass that I would let step on me, and Harrow would be the #1 person I call when I go shopping at Spirit Halloween. On one hand, we have silly, goofy mood, dirty magazines, bad jokes. On the other hand, we have, like, the responsibility of being an heir to a dying house, and skeletons, and lots of blood, and gore. This series is so weird and trippy, and I need Electo the Ninth to come out in a more timely manner than it is coming out, because if you read the series, you'll know. If you know, you know. And so that is that on that. Oh no, where are we going? Here is, at this moment in time, Rachel's top 10 favorite Sapphic novels. As always, please leave down below your favorite Sapphic novels because I want to get my hands on them. What was this? Like a crab? I want to get them. I want to get them in my hands. And also let me know if you'd like me to do a video on like bi characters or sapphic people who are not in heterosexual facing relationships, because hell knows I have enough of them. I love how many sapphic books that I've read in the last year, and I'm sure I'm gonna read more. I know there's like 2 this month that I have my eye on that actually will probably be out by the time this video goes up. Ooh, stay tuned, I guess. I'm gonna get my hands on those. Carcinization is real. I am so tired and also very hungry, so I'm gonna wrap this up and then go like smash a grilled cheese sandwich. You know where I click to like the video, you know where I click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day or night wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!